Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing the approval of the underlying petition associated with either an IR-1, CR-1, or a K-3 spousal visa. These are visas for spouses of American citizens or lawful permanent residents in the case of the CR-1 or the IR-1, and the implications of USCIS approval. The way that I look at these cases, it's something of a two-phase process. So the first phase, you're dealing with the Department of Homeland Security. Second phase, you're dealing with Department of State. The culmination, if you will, of the Department of Homeland Security's adjudication culminates with a final decision as to the merits of the petition. Presuming approval, which in the vast majority of cases, that's probably what's going to happen, unless there's some kind of extenuating circumstances which warrant a denial. But let's presume you get an approval from Department of Homeland Security, i.e. USCIS. What does that mean? Well, that's the approved petition. That's not the end of the road. In the case of CR-1 and IR-1 visas, you're going to be dealing primarily with NVC before the case, that's the National Visa Center, before the case gets sent, in the case of Thailand, to the U.S. Embassy here in Bangkok in order to do interviews and see the visa ultimately issued, if it's approved by the adjudicating consular officer. That said, National Visa Center, as I've discussed in many other videos, it's like some digital version of a neo-Soviet, bureaucratic, Kafkaesque hellscape from my mind. It's just not the easiest agency to deal with, in my opinion. That said, once you're through that, you've sort of gone through that sort of logjam wilderness, whatever you want to call it, you get over here and you're dealing with the interview, and at that point, things do kind of tend to smooth out, if you will. Yes, dealing with the interview is daunting for some, but from my perspective, having done this some 17 years, I look at it as sort of the light at the end of the tunnel, especially once you're done dealing with the National Visa Center. But the thing to take away from this video is, in the case of IR-1 and CR-1 visas, the approval at USCIS is most assuredly not the end of the road, as you've got something of an uphill battle to deal with National Visa Center in order to get over here to the embassy. Meanwhile, the K-3 visas, we've discussed in many videos, in the vast majority of cases, if it gets to NVC, if the underlying petition for the immigrant spouse visa gets there simultaneously or beforehand, the K-3 visa will definitely be, quote-unquote, administratively closed. I've even seen situations where the immigrant spouse visa petition comes along a little bit after the K-3 supplemental petition has been approved. It gets to NVC after the K-3 has been approved, and they still put the K-3 in administrative closure. So again, these cases are going to be slightly different depending on their circumstances. They're all kind of like unique little snowflakes at the end of the day. And long story short, and the thing you should be keeping in mind with and take away from this video is that USCIS approval is not, in and of itself, the end of the road with regard to immigrant spousal visas and non-immigrant spousal visas issued by an embassy abroad. More specifically, what we deal with here are such visas issued from the U.S. Embassy here in the Kingdom of Thailand.